So this is a different type of video. This is Eisenhower's, the president that came right after Truman. If you don't know, Eisenhower was the commander, um, the Allied commander of the war. He helped orchestrate D-Day and the invasion of France, Vichy, France / Germany, I guess, at that time. And orchestrate a Western, what do you call it? I guess push into Germany, for lack of a better word, while Russia was squeezing them from the east. He would eventually become president in 1952, and he would serve until the end of 1960 into 61 when Kennedy took over. He would actually be a mentor to Kennedy in some regards. Jump in. This is his farewell address.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. First, I should like to express my gratitude to the radio and television networks for the opportunities they have given me over the years to bring reports and messages.
All right, so I was trying to get the volume right because it was very faint.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Here we go.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. First, I should like to express my gratitude to the radio and
also, we go in closed captions. Hold on. What are we gonna make it? We will make it cyan, blue. I'm gonna make it pink since it's black and white. Make the contrast as good as we can.
Television networks for the opportunities they have given me over the years to bring reports and messages to our nation. My special thanks go to them for the opportunity of addressing you this evening. 3 days from now, after half a century in the service of our country, I shall lay down the responsibilities of office as, in traditional and solemn ceremony, the authority of the presidency is vested in my successor.
This is interesting, right? Because Eisenhower is actually the first president to have to deal with this 22nd Amendment. So that's an interesting little Easter egg in this speech. He's the first president to have to deal with the 22nd Amendment. If you don't know, the 22nd Amendment means that the president has to serve only 2 terms, and that's it. Doesn't have to be consecutive, as you can see that in Trump or even Grover Cleveland, even though he was not bound by the 22nd Amendment. The 22nd Amendment really came through during Truman's years. FDR served not 4 complete terms, but was elected 4 times. 32, 36, 40, and 44. He died in 45. Was succeeded by Truman. Truman was then reelected in 48 and served until 52. And Truman was grandfathered in, so he could have kept running. He could have been president till he died. But he didn't. He didn't do that. But he honestly could. He could have. Just a little Easter egg.
This evening, I come to you with a message of leave-taking and farewell, and to share a few final thoughts with you, my countrymen. Like every other citizen, I wish the new president and all...
I love how this isn't edited, because in today's time, he repeated himself just now. If Trump or previous presidents was to do that, they would just cut it.
Who will labor with him, Godspeed. I pray that the coming years will be blessed with peace and prosperity for all. Our people expect their president and the Congress to find essential agreement on issues of great moment, the wise resolution of which will better shape the future of the nation. My own relations with the Congress, which began on a remote and tenuous basis when, long ago, a member of the Senate appointed me to West Point, have since ranged to the intimate during the war and immediate post-war period, and finally to the mutually interdependent during these past 8 years. In this final relationship, the Congress and the administration have, on most vital issues, cooperated well to serve the nation good rather than mere partisanship, and so have assured that the business of the nation should go forward. So my official relationship with the Congress ends in a feeling, on my part, of gratitude that we have been able to do so much together. We now stand 10 years past the midpoint of a century that has witnessed 4 major wars among great nations.
The Korean War, World War II, World War I. What was the fourth one? I don't know the fourth one. I mean, he could be talking about a couple things. I don't think he's talking about the Spanish-American War. That was the turn of the century. Maybe the Mexican-American War? Maybe I'm missing something.
3 of these involved our own country.
Oh. I don't know what he's talking about then. So he's definitely talking about World War I, II, and Korean War. What other war was there? I mean, I don't know if he's actually counting the Chinese Civil War. We might be talking about the Spanish War, like the Spanish Succession or the Spanish Civil War. Maybe I'm missing something. There's the Russo-Japanese War in the early part. Maybe that's what he's talking about. I'm going to say it's probably the Russo-Japanese War.
Despite these holocausts, America is today the strongest, the most influential, and most productive nation in the world.
Thanks to, yeah, we talked about that a lot during the Great Game series, the Old Britannia, so go check that out if you haven't. But yeah, after World War II, it was cemented. Really before that, after World War I, America started to take the lead. Before that, it was Britain. It was far and wide Britain. Since like the 18th century, it was Britain. Before that was France. Before that was Spain. But he's talking about hegemon. We are definitely the hegemon after World War II. I would say starting in World War II, we're the hegemon. When Britain is isolated and their empire is collapsing around them.
Understandably proud of this preeminence, we yet realize that America's leadership and prestige depend not merely upon our unmatched material progress, riches, and military strength, but on how we use our power in the interest of world peace and human betterment.
Yeah.
Throughout America's adventure in free government, our basic purposes have been to keep the peace, to foster progress in human achievement, and to enhance liberty, dignity, and integrity among peoples and among nations. To strive for less would be unworthy of a free and religious people. Any failure traceable to arrogance or our lack of comprehension or readiness to sacrifice would inflict upon us grievous hurt, both at home and abroad. Progress toward these noble goals is persistently threatened by the conflict now engulfing the world. It commands our whole attention, absorbs our very being.
Conflict engulfing the world. Is that a whistleblow to communism?
We face a hostile ideology, global in scope,
Yes.
atheistic in character, ruthless in purpose, and insidious in method.
That's communism to him.
Unhappily, the danger it poses promises to be of indefinite duration.
Of course, what he was saying earlier about peacekeeping, it's very true in World War I and World War II. America kind of comes to the aid of Europe. The Korean War is not like that, though. Korean War is very different. It's smaller in scope. We need to do more videos. We need to do videos on the Korean War. So I don't have much expertise at all. See the stamp down there. But from what I understand, the Korean War is a slippery slope into peacekeeping can be not synonymous, but akin to policing. And policing means that you are, the doctrine power, or whatever you want to call it, the hegemon of the world, and your interests are subjecting everyone else to your doings, your ideology and everything. And when you have that mentality, it comes at a head with communism. Not Marxism, but communism. And communism is basically, at this time, of course, we've had the Red Scare during Eisenhower's. He's very well aware of McCarthyism and the Red Scare, and he's well aware of the domino theory. And we're starting to send some military consultants to Indochina at this time, eventually Vietnam, right? And the world is changing. Africa's changing, Asia's changing, Latin America's changing. The progressive ideals of national places are starting to come to the top. And a lot of times that creates a vulnerability of falling into the sphere of influence of a greater power. There's two great powers at this time. There's China, no, sorry. There is Russia, or the USSR, and there's the United States. So, like the scramble for Africa, there's a scramble for Earth in this case. And it's a capitalistic versus communistic headway.
To meet it successfully, there is call for not so much the emotional and transitory sacrifices of crisis, but rather those which enable us to carry forward steadily, surely, and without complaint, the burdens of a prolonged and complex struggle with liberty the stake. Only thus shall we remain, despite every provocation, on our charted course toward permanent peace and human betterment.
Right, and that's, of course, the masked objective is permanent peace, which he may believe that, right? And then most people may believe that, and that may be like a primary objective that people are moving for. But peace means you have to sometimes shoot people to gain peace. And this is all in guise of defensive war. We'll see that in Vietnam. We've seen that in Korea. But on the opposite hand of things, should we just let them, the communists take over the world? That would be the defense. Should we just let them? It depends on what you want to do, right? It depends on your goals. America's goal right here is to be the hegemon of the world. The capitalist identity of the Western world is control of the trade routes. You don't want another Ottoman Empire situation where you're having to, go around Africa and get, the Silk Road provided so many riches to Europe. And the Silk Road had obviously maneuvered through time into other trade routes in the Mediterranean. But the Ottomans, the Turks, it wasn't an ideology war. It was a religious war then. It was a religious ideology kind of like meeting each other between Christendom and Islam. Christendom and Islam. Those two didn't intermix well. And the best way you can say if that's true is just look at the Balkans in those hundreds of years. But eventually there had to be, different routes taken literally to create wealth. And at the end of the day, a nation does not like staying stagnant. Um, stagnant, meaning like plateaued in growth. It's similar like companies. If you guys ever see like corporate companies or companies, they just want a chart that just goes up to the right, up to the right. Never stops going up to the right. Doesn't matter what happens. Is that really possible? Especially when you have finite resources? No, impossible. So, unfortunately, you get into this competitive nature, which has been the casus belli of every war ever. Competing with your neighbor somehow, whether it be on an ideological basis or a resource basis, or both. Mainly resources, because and that feeds the inner security systems of our greed. And greed is just a market term, but really it's about security. So security of the world in this case means defending these nations that we are possibly going to have influence over from a communistic ideology that could give us less power, less influence, and less resources.
Crises there will continue to be.
So, yeah.
Whether foreign or domestic, great or small, there is a recurring temptation to feel that some spectacular and costly action could become the miraculous solution to all current difficulties.
Is he like, bro? I'm loving this so far because having a lot of this context be interesting. During Eisenhower's term, might have been during Truman's term, so I don't remember. Might have been during Eisenhower. I don't know, man. During the Korean War, Douglas MacArthur, I think it was Douglas MacArthur, was like, yeah, well, let's just drop a nuke on China, or might not have been China, it might have been North Korea. I can't remember. One of the two. Either way, Chinese would have died. It was obviously let go. So I wonder if that's what he's referencing miraculous solution as. Maybe not. I'm just guessing.
A huge increase in newer elements of our defenses. Development of unrealistic programs to cure every ill in agriculture. A dramatic expansion in basic and applied research. These and many other possibilities, each possibly promising in itself, may be suggested as the only way to the road we wish to travel. But each proposal must be weighed in the light of a broader consideration, the need to maintain balance in and among national programs. Balance between the private and the public economy. Balance between the cost and hoped for advantages. Balance between the clearly necessary and the comfortably desirable. Balance between our essential requirements as a nation and the duties imposed by the nation upon the individual.
That's very interesting because of JFK's inauguration is very much saying the same thing. If you remember, it's not what the country can do for you, it's what you can do for your country.
And the duties imposed by the nation upon the individual. Balance between actions of the moment and the national welfare of the future. Good judgment seeks balance and progress. Lack of it eventually finds imbalance and frustration. The record of many decades stands as proof that our people and their government have, in the main, understood these truths and have responded to them well in the face of threat and stress.
Huh?
But threats, new in kind or degree, constantly arise. Of these I mention two only.
Here we go.
A vital element in keeping the peace is our military establishment. Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action, so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction. Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime.
Yeah. That is so true. That is so true. And peacetime is very important. So, like FDR prior to World War II, there was a huge rearmament during the 30s because of what we saw going on in Europe. So before that, like, we were not a huge military.
Or indeed by the fighting men of World War II or Korea.
Yeah.
Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense.
Gotta have a standing national defense, is what he's saying.
We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists.
I mean, this goes throughout history, right? This is not an anomaly at all. There's a lot of people that point to this speech warning against the military industrial complex, my bad. It's just a technological advancement to kind of make it more romanticized, I guess. But this has happened throughout history, right? This has happened where generals become too powerful than the body of legislative body, or a king is rivaled by a fellow lord with their army. Of course, this is grandeur and scale, has more power, has more ability, but just as a notation that this is not anything new.
And will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
He doesn't want a military junta. Is that what it's called? Junta? A coup. Military coup, basically.
We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals.
Yeah, gotta have a active and informed citizenry,
so that security and liberty may prosper together.
Of course, when you get that, your predecessor, not Kennedy, but his real predecessor, not Johnson, his real predecessor, Nixon. Actually, Johnson kind of exacerbates the Vietnam War a little bit. So Johnson and Nixon are going to have to deal with what you just asked for. He just asked for an informed citizen body, an active citizen body. That's what you're going to get in the 60s and 70s. You're going to get a progressive movement. You're going to get people well informed. You're going to get people that are, questioning the government, questioning everything. Be careful what you ask or you wish for, because it may not be what you think it might be. Eisenhower. I'm not trying to demonize Eisenhower, by the way. I'm just saying it's kind of interesting that what he's asking for in scope might be larger than he thinks.
Akin to and largely responsible for the sweeping changes in our industrial military posture has been the technological revolution during recent decades. In this revolution, research has become central. it also becomes more formalized, complex, and costly. A steadily increasing share is conducted for, by, or at the direction of the federal government. Today, the solitary inventor, tinkering in his shop, has been overshadowed by task forces of scientists.
I mean, thank God, right? That's not a bad thing. We are collectively collaborating and putting all our resources towards the betterment of humanity. Now, you could militarize this technology and you can say that's not the betterment of technology. But most scientists aren't, you know. The splitting of the atom was immediately militarized. Airplanes were immediately militarized. Everything's always going to be immediately militarized throughout history, right? You can see that throughout history. Exactly. However, military cannot touch everything. Like, maybe you can make the argument that it can, but the medicinal research that's been able to be used, the scientific research, the astrological research, the physics research, the chemist research, the mathematician research, arithmetic research, whatever you want to call it, all of these things have influenced a better society, whether it be commercial goods, whether it be DNA understanding, whether it be criminology, whether it be chemistry, physics, everything, propulsion. This is what helps with, with the space race eventually and so forth.
In laboratories and testing fields. In the same fashion, the free university, historically the fountainhead of free ideas and scientific discovery, has experienced a revolution in the conduct of research. Partly because of the huge costs involved, a government contract becomes virtually a substitute for intellectual curiosity. For every old blackboard, there are now hundreds of new electronic computers. The prospect of domination of the nation's scholars by federal employment, project allocations, and the power of money is ever present and is gravely to be regarded. Yet in holding scientific research and discovery in respect, as we should, we must also be alert to the equal and opposite danger that public policy could itself become the captive of a scientific, technological elite. It is the task of statesmanship.
Is this like a contrast to the military-industrial complex, like in the same way that technology could come? That's interesting. Obviously, that didn't pan out, but that's interesting.
To mold, to balance, and to integrate these and other forces, new and old, within the principles of our democratic system, ever aiming
what is the thought process there in terms of like what could happen
toward the supreme goals of our free society. Another factor in maintaining balance involves the element of time. As we peer into society's future, we, you and I, and our government must avoid the impulse to live only for today, plundering for our own ease and convenience the precious resources of tomorrow.
So we got a progressive Eisenhower. We're going to talk about clean energy next.
Cannot mortgage the material assets of our grandchildren without risking the loss also of their political and spiritual heritage.
Yeah.
We want democracy to survive for all generations to come, not to become the insolvent phantom of tomorrow. During the long lane of the history yet to be written, America knows that this world of ours, ever growing smaller, must avoid becoming a community of dreadful fear and hate, and be instead a proud confederation of mutual trust and respect. Such a confederation must be one of equals. The weakest must...
I mean, the irony of this statement when segregation is still going on in the South. Right? It's kind of interesting.
Come to the conference table with the same confidence as do we, protected as we are by our moral, economic, and military strength. That table, though scarred by many past frustrations, cannot be abandoned for the certainty agony of disarmament of the battlefield. Disarmament with mutual honor and confidence is a continuing imperative.
Yeah, which is what will be in the first few years of Kennedy's first year and a half of Kennedy's presidency will be a huge conversation.
Together we must learn how to compose differences, not with arms, but with intellect and decent purpose.
Please tell your generals that.
Because this need is so sharp and apparent, I confess that I lay down my official responsibilities in this field with a definite sense of disappointment.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. Why is that funny? That's funny because we did the Cuban Missile Crisis, and all the generals that will be of the Eisenhower era, of the World War II era, are war hawks. Yeah.
As one who has witnessed the horror and the lingering sadness of war, as one who knows that another war could utterly destroy this civilization,
Yeah, nuclear war.
which has been so slowly and painfully built over thousands of years.
Wow. That's a very when he says civilization, he does not mean the United States. He means humanity. Interesting. That's there's a lot of foresight there. I like that.
I wish I could say tonight that a lasting peace is in sight.
Whoa, that's daunting.
Happily, I can say that war has been avoided.
So far?
Steady progress toward our ultimate goal has been made, but so much remains to be done.
And that is true. That is true. Those the disarmament, early Cuban Missile Crisis, we will miss. This will be, a huge stride forward. Thank everything, for that didn't go down the wrong way. The SALT treaties are going to be important. Continued peace in our time is going to be important. We got lucky so many times in the last 45, 50, 60 years. Shit, 80 years.
As a private citizen, I shall never cease to do what little I can to help the world advance along that road. So in this, my last good night to you as your president, I thank you for the many opportunities you have given me for public service in war and in peace. I trust in that service, you find some things worthy. As for the rest of it, I know you will find ways to improve performance.
Surprised he hasn't mentioned Kennedy at all. It's obvious that he's the elect.
In the future. You and I,
Well, I know that's obvious, right? He was elected in November.
my fellow citizens, need to be strong in our faith that all nations under God will reach the goal of peace with justice. May we be ever unswerving in devotion to principle, confident but humble with power, diligent in pursuit of the nation's great goals. To all the peoples of the world, I once more give expression to America's prayerful and continuing aspiration. We pray that peoples of all faiths, all races, all nations may have their great human needs satisfied, that those now denied opportunity shall come to enjoy it to the full, that all who yearn for freedom may experience its spiritual blessings. Those who have freedom will understand also its heavy responsibility, that all who are insensitive to the needs of others will learn charity, and that the scourges of poverty, disease, and ignorance will be made disappear from the earth, and that in the goodness of time all peoples will come to live together in a peace guaranteed by the binding force of mutual respect and love. Now, on Friday noon, I am to become a private citizen. I am proud to do so. I look forward to it. Thank you, and good night.
Is there anything else?
We have presented the farewell address by the President of the United States, Dwight D. Eisenhower, who spoke this evening from his office in the White House.
Wow, that was interesting. Well, we did this video, guys. It kind of, sorry, it kind of like bookends a period of time. You know, the World War II era is closed. This chapter is closed. The World War II era gets closed. I mean, Stalin's gone. Churchill is effectively gone. He's still alive in 1960. Eisenhower's gone. Truman's gone. Doesn't mean they're dead. They're just gone. Stalin's dead. FDR is obviously gone. Like this entire the thing is like what he said like about like he's disappointed. Some of the generals are still around. They're war hawkish, which are going to culminate in the Cuban Missile Crisis, where they just want to bombard Cuba, which would have been devastating, probably, most likely. But this was a very interesting speech, you know. He obviously warned about the military-industrial complex. He obviously, you know, is very I don't know how old he is. I'm gonna say he's at least 65, something like that. Maybe more older. I'm not sure how old he is in this farewell address. If he's 65, let's just say he's 65. That means he was born in the 19th century. And what did he witness? Oh my, he witnessed all the wars we talked about. He witnessed, you know, a society grow up around technology, the civilization really prosper. What do you do with that? I mean, the warnings are very well put because obviously when he's talking about some of these things, he's talking about like don't let something become too powerful to coup the government or to control you and all this stuff. Which there's a lot of merit in that conversation because of historical accounts. The technology thing's an anomaly, but it's still the practice of it. It's very much the same as like a coup in some sort. But he's very progressive looking when it comes to a lot of his conversations around humanity and let's strive to disarm, let's strive to protect. Of course, in the guise of protection, you get peacemaking. In the guise of peacemaking, you get policing. In the guise of policing, you get war. So there's give and take. Obviously, it's very different. You know, when someone's was in the position he was, you know, military career, you have the understanding of war. He's not just a politician; he is a veteran, and a veteran of the most destructive war of all time. So, really interesting speech. I enjoyed listening to it. If there's other videos like this, throw them my way. You have the comment section, so leave your video suggestions there, or join our Discord and leave them there. Appreciate you guys as always. See you guys. Peace out, and bye-bye.